Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Wonderful to see you. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger, joined with our soloist Allison Rosoff, and down at the piano, Joy Katzen-Guthrie. For those of you who are here in the synagogue, if you look at the back of the Shabbat booklet, you'll find some safety and security window, and this is acting up yet again. But just so you know, I tried it earlier on Friday, and it works. So maybe when people come in the room, something happens with that. You'll be able to follow along the service in your prayer books, Mishkan Tefillah, as well as on the screens. We're going to begin the Kabbalat Shabbat service, welcoming Shabbat by singing a wonderful arrangement of Or Zarua, which is part of Psalm 97, Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. Rick Recht made this arrangement. Any ladies or women who would like to come up to the bima and help us light the Shabbat candles? The blessing for the candles you'll find on page 2 in the prayer book. You're welcome to come forward. Just a couple weeks away from the beginning of the new Jewish year. And you know we're in the midst of the month, or in the middle of the month, by looking at the moon. Full moon, middle of the month, the Jewish month. New moon, you don't see that much of it. So we're right in the middle of the 12th and final month of the Jewish calendar called Elul, which is a time of reflection prior to the High Holy Days and the New Year. So this reading right here is taken from the Slichot Service of Forgiveness prayer book that we'll use next Saturday night during our Slichot service, if you'd like to join me. Elul, an island in the year. Before we slip too quickly to the season of the soul, let there be a Sabbath of Sabbaths for the heart. Before the music of creation's majesty, let there be a silent praise of existence. Before the feast of sanctified words, let there be a poetry of solitude. Before we enter the palaces of prayer, let us find within ourselves a place of calm. Before we revel in the wondrous and sublime, let there be an honest inward gaze. Before the rites and ceremonies of awe, let there be quieter gaze, an island of attentiveness. You'll find the words to Shalom Aleichem, classic Shabbat table song, saying peace to the Melachim, the messengers in our world, on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malchei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nile Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Say Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You'll find the words to the Hatzi Kaddish. Wonder if that's acting up there too. Let me turn that off. On page 26.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah B'yama divrayutei gam nitmachutei B'chayechon uvyomechon U'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael B'kala b'kala U'vizman kariv V'imru amen Yishmei Rabbah mevarach Le'olam ul'almei amaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitroman V'yitnasei V'yithadar V'yitalev V'yithalal Shemei Dekudesh Abrichu Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata Tush bechata v'nechem
Amen. You'll find the call to prayer, the Barhu, on page 26. Please rise. If you look on the screen now, you'll find a special reading for our prayer of creation called Ma'ariv Aravim, if you'd like to join me. Holy is twilight, the realm of in-between. And so our sages taught, pray in the moments when light and darkness touch. We are all twilight people, beyond categories and labels. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, widen our wisdom. Let it illumine our way to the God who transcends all boundaries and definitions. Blessed are you, God of all. Zan. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. And our prayer called Ahavat Olam, Great Love, is found on the middle of 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And as we prepare to sing the Shema, we'll continue with Open Up Our Eyes. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Vayed. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue chanting the words of the Shema, also known as You Shall Love, the V'ahavta, on page 26. Please join us. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha bebetecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'aretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. If you have your prayer books open, you can turn to page 40 for the words of Mi Chamocha, but we'll precede it with a reading that you'll find right on the screen. Eternal, watch over my small domain of light and shadow, those few people who share my love and all others upon this earth that sometimes shakes with thunder and reverberates with lightning. Help us to live with fear and conquer rage. Heal the hate that makes us kill and covers the ground with a Red Sea that only you can part. So we may all walk through the wilderness to your realm of peace, where all men and women are one, and sing your blessed name. Who is like you? Turning to page 42, we'll be singing Steve Dropkin's arrangement of our prayer of protection, the Hashkivenu. Grant, O God, that we may lie down in peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'amideinu shomreinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'amideinu shomreinu lechaim Uvros aleinu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzidkeinu Uvros aleinu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzidkeinu Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'amideinu shomreinu lechaim Baruch atah Adonai Haborei Sukat Shalom Aleinu v'yokomo Yisrael
Let's rise now for the words of our tefillah, which begin on page 46, blessing God for the generations who came before us, for our lives and health, and for Kedusha, for holiness.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei
Hakadosh v'shem kakadosh, ukadoshim b'chol yom yalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Feel free to be seated, and we'll continue with the last four blessings of the Shabbat Amidah, our standing prayers. First, for the holiness of Shabbat, Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat, a prayer on 56, asking that God's presence always reside with us here in Israel and throughout the world. Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato L'Tzion. And for things we're grateful for, I know at least a couple people who haven't been here in a while, who I'm very glad to see here in person. Baruch atah Adonai Hatov Shimcha U'cha Na'eh Lechodot. And we'll conclude with our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha on 60. Baruch atah Adonai Amvarech et Amo Yisrael. Ba Shalom. May the world be blessed with peace. Before we get to our next part, which is the singing of Shalom Rav, we are going to add, as we've done the last couple of weeks, and this is the third week, to add our special Psalm 27 recitation, which will be right on the screen. You can advance it one. There you go. Don't worry, Shalom Rav's after that. I promise. Psalm 27, God is my light and my refuge secure. Whom shall I fear? God is the stronghold of my life. Of whom should I be afraid? Just one thing I've asked of God, only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, and to gaze in delight at God's temple. And I'll ask Allison to call. Blowing a shofar, it's kind of like riding a roller coaster. You never know what you're going to find on the next curve, because even if you've been blowing shofar for decades and decades and decades, it doesn't have a regular mouthpiece, so it's always a little bit of a challenge. So now we're going to sing Shalom Rav, this beautiful arrangement by cantor Jeff Klepper.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom.
find our prayer of healing, Misha Berach, God the one who blesses those in need, on the screen as well as on 253 in your prayer books as we call to mind individuals in our community and beyond who are in need of healing. This time we think of Jacqueline Albin, Joanne Beeman Fiddleman, Yonatan Riven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Joel Bowman, Harry Bronstein, Babs Brown, Peggy Bruno, Tina Bruns, Stephen Drenane, Harry Fleisch, Marcia Friedman, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Sidel Freifeld, David Friedlander, Bruce Goldstein, Eve Goldstein, Lee Grubman, Don Hirschman, Jim Howard, Kathy Howard, Ken Mercereau, William Miller, Alan Muirhead, Cole Montgomery, Michael Ranzino, Barry Richmond, Bob Rosen, Stephanie Ross, Carol Spani, Albert Schaefer, Angela Stramenis, Jeff Stark, and Michelle Slazo, longtime religious school teacher who now lives in Wisconsin. If there are any other names to add, feel free.
My father, George Stark. Misheberach avotenu mikol habracha limoltenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing.
And let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. This is a time of anticipation for many of us, and for me especially as a rabbi. In just 2 weeks, we are going to begin the Jewish New Year, 5784, and experience the sights and sounds of the new year. It's a time for white robes, and starting next Saturday night, white Torah covers representing purity, an opportunity to hear beautiful music from Allison, Michelle, Joy, and our High Holiday Choir, and listen to the wonderful timbre of hundreds of voices reading and singing together. Of course, we'll hear kibitzing and conversations of folks in seats either in front or behind. As the old joke goes, some go to synagogue, others go to talk with their neighbors. But there is one sound that's truly unique. There's nothing like it in the world, and that's the sound of the shofar, or ram's horn. And for the people at home, I'll put it right up here. Please stay. You got to get it perfectly balanced. It's curling. We're in business. Most shofarot, like this one, shofarot, the plural of shofar, ram's horn, have curves or bends in it. Because during this season of reflection, we bend God's ear, in a sense, so that God listens to our prayers, whereas others believe that you should use a straight shofar without any bends, because we should stand upright before God, just like during the Baruch when we bend at the knees, but when we say Adonai, or God's name, we're supposed to be standing straight and tall. There's actually a whole discussion in the Talmud, if you're interested, in a section or tractate called, wait for it, Rosh Hashanah. As always, when there are two Jews, there are many, many more opinions. Now, today, we're able to freely observe and enjoy the mitzvah, or sacred obligation, called Lishmoa Kol Shofar, to hear or to listen to the kol, the voice of the shofar. But there have been a number of times in Jewish history when sounding the shofar was dangerous indeed. And tonight, I'd like to share a very special story about one such time. It's actually a legend that's been passed down verbally throughout the centuries. And in 2009, if you're familiar with the wonderful PJ Library kids book series, in 2009, a children's book author named Jacqueline Dembar Green wrote a beautiful adaptation of this called The Secret Shofar of Barcelona. And while the story does speak of darker times, it really has quite an uplifting message. The tale takes place in the last decade of the 1400s in Barcelona, Spain. You might recall historically that in 1492, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand decreed that every single person in Spain must be Catholic. And those who practiced any other faith, Judaism included, were forced to either, one, leave the country, or two, convert to Catholicism. Now, most Jews relatively quickly left for other lands, but some remained and pretended to follow Catholicism. For generations, these Jews, sometimes called Marranos, but mostly called conversos, hid their religion from the outside world, most especially from the Inquisition, which, unlike Mel Brooks's take in History of the World Part 1, was not a good show. Rather, it was a group of super harsh Catholic judges set up to find anyone who didn't follow the church's teachings and punish them harshly. Spies at the time were rampant in cities like Barcelona, and the Jews who live in secret, the conversos, were always in fear of being discovered. There was one man, though, Don Fernando de Aguilar, who wanted desperately to hear the sound of the shofar, but it was a mitzvah that he couldn't keep along with the other Jews. He stayed behind in Barcelona with his family, most likely because he was actually the conductor of the Royal Orchestra in Barcelona. But although Judaism was outlawed in Spain until, believe it or not, 1967, he organized a secret prayer service in the basement of his friend Don Manuel's leather shop. In 1497, Don Fernando completed a new musical composition featuring melodies that he had collected throughout the world, a composition that he was set to debut at a concert celebrating Spain's colonies in the New World, colonization. It would be unlike anything that the people in Barcelona or Spain had ever heard. One day, Don Fernando's son, whose name was Raphael, heard his dad quietly playing the harpsichord at his house in the music room. After stopping to say hello, he led Raphael to a large table in the middle of the room and said, "Look, all of these instruments here were handmade by native cultures with love and with care. From the harpsichord that I was just playing with its plucked strings to all sorts of percussion instruments made from natural materials, like gourds to use as shakers, and even a hollow log filled with rattles that kind of sounds like falling rain. You know, those rain sticks that are really cool." Don Fernando then called his son over to him and whispered, "Raphael, this concert also marks another very special secret celebration." Raphael was intrigued, so he said, "Dad," or maybe it was Papa, "please tell me. You know, I've kept other secrets before, like the most important one, hiding the fact that our family still practices Judaism." Now playing louder on the harpsichord to muffle his words, Don Fernando continued, "The performance of my new composition will actually take place on the eve of Rosh Hashanah, the New Year. We'll gather with our family and friends before the concert. The plan, however, was really dangerous. If they were caught, nothing would protect the family from the Inquisition." Suddenly, Raphael had an idea. Since it's Rosh Hashanah, maybe we could incorporate the sound of the shofar or ram's horn amongst all of the other special instruments. Don Fernando thought for a moment and said, "You're right. The Jews of Barcelona haven't heard the call of the shofar in many, many years, but who would dare risk it?" Raphael answered, "I will. If you're brave enough to conduct a concert on Rosh Hashanah and have a festive meal beforehand, then I'll be brave enough to play the shofar. But what we'll do is hide the shofar in plain sight." Don Fernando said, "You're right, Raphael." He then unlocked a special cabinet in his music room. He took out a wooden box that was very beautiful and opened it up, and beneath a red velvet cover was a beautiful shofar. "Take it, Raphael, but be very, very careful when you practice it." That very afternoon, Raphael went to the edge of town where there were lots of olive trees, far from where anybody would hear him. At first, he tried to make the sound. It was his first time blowing a shofar, and nothing came out, which is what usually happens when you first start playing the shofar, because playing the shofar is no easy feat. It took him a while, many, many, many hours, to perfect the special sounds. The single long notes of the tekiah, which you heard and Allison called earlier this evening. The three broken notes of the shivarim, because the tradition of the Jews of Barcelona hearing the shofar had been broken. And then the 9 staccato notes of the truah, which sounds like a warning call or an alarm. And finally, the longest of all, the big tekiah or tekiah gedolah, which would require a whole bunch of strength and power. Raphael, hearing this, suddenly became worried. What if the judges of the Inquisition who are there realize what the ram's horn is really used for? He and his father would surely go to prison or worse. Nevertheless, he continued to practice and perfect his skill while his father incorporated the sounds of the shofar into his new musical composition. On the evening of the concert, which took place on the 5th day of September, the Aguilars and their closest friends gathered at Don Fernando's library to welcome the new year. Upon entering the home, it said that they knelt down and kissed a particular floorboard. Underneath that floorboard, there was a hidden mezuzah with the Jewish prayer called the Shema in it. Some prayed very quietly from the liturgy, from the Machzor, while other people talked louder in Spanish to muffle Hebrew. Later, they all walked to the city square where the orchestra was set up to play, right outside. Introducing his composition, Don Fernando said it was a celebration of many, many cultures. Every instrument ever created around the world, no matter how far away, was represented. It's said, according to legend, that some people noticed that Don Fernando wasn't wearing the gold cross that he usually wore. After all, he was a converso and wanted people to think he was no longer Jewish. But given the excitement about this unique orchestral work, nobody paid much attention to it. Soon, the curtains opened and the concert began. The composition was true to Don Fernando's word. It featured a wide range of instruments, from bells to horns to stringed instruments and also percussion. Then, as the concert reached its climax, a young musician took the stage. And as you'll see in the image right there, taken from the book, The Secret Shofar of Barcelona, in the illustration, it was Raphael on the left-hand part of the screen holding the shofar. Everybody else who was watching didn't know the double meaning of the shofar, but the conversos who were in attendance, they surely knew what was happening. It was their first chance to hear the calls in many years. Now, from an historical standpoint, not much is known about Don Fernando de Aguilar. Some people believe that he was arrested soon after the concert. Other people believe that he lived to a ripe old age, continuing to practice Judaism with his family in secret. But we do know this. One evening, more than 500 years ago, on the first day of Tishrei, the first month of the Jewish year, 5258, the secret Jewish community of Barcelona was able to fulfill the mitzvah lishmoa kol shofar, of hearing the voice and the sound of the ram's horn. And they celebrated the new year in a very special way. The challenge of the High Holy Days, which will begin before we know it, is whether we'll let the sound of the shofar go into our mind, open our minds, and also open our heart. It's not very easy to cut through the noise of the world and the many competing sounds that we hear in our lives, both at home and on our way. But this season and this time of reflection says to us, look up, awaken yourself, and listen. Incline or bend your ear to the sound of the shofar. Each of us on Rosh Hashanah will hear its majestic call. The question is, how will we respond? Shabbat Shalom. We're going to continue back in the prayer book, also on the screens, with the prayer called Aleinu, the adoration found on page 282. Please rise as the ark is open.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, l'tik gedoula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam kelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anaknu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei
Be seated. You'll find the words to Kadisha's Home, the Mourner's Kaddish, Words of Praise, on page 294 in your prayer books. We first think of families in the period of Shloshim, first 30 days mourning their loved one. So we fondly remember Edith Seligman, mother of Robert Lou Patrick Seligman, and Gabriel B. Caprio, father of Allison Schoenfeld, grandfather of Mia Schoenfeld. We also mark the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of loved ones. On this Shabbat, we remember Abraham Z. Azursky, Pablo Pereño, Jeanette Diamond, Louis Dorfman, Abe Astulin, Mildred Friedman, Iris Geller, Hannah Goldberg, Edwin Goldsmith, Toby Goger, Louis Gorlick, Reba Gorlick, Jerome Granoff, Edward Grubman, Dallas Hayden, David Kornfeld, Daisy Kornfeld, Gerald Lipensky, Louis Litt, Mike Madigan, Mildred Miller, Andrew Molish, Bernard Nassiter, Mac Nord, Bella Uziel, Walter Porge, Ethel Reed, Sidney Rosenthal, E. William Sapphire, Jerome Chagrin, Beverly Schreiber, Sam Siegel, Paul Tudelman, Joe Weingarten, Ella Weiss, Leonard Wolstein, and Dina Zeitz. Are there any other names to add for yahrzeit at this time? We say, oh, yes, please. Thank you. We say, Zichronam Livracha, may the memory of all of these good people continue to be a lasting blessing in their loved ones and friends' lives as we rise to offer the words of Kaddish praise together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divra hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'kayechon uvyomechon chaye dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shemei dekudasha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, Ukraine, and throughout the world, to which we say amen. And feel free to be seated. The words of the Shabbat Kiddush are found on page 5 and also right on the screens. Please join us. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei bria gafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'rata banu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ava u'ratzon inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit. siat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim Shabbat kodechecha be'ahava uvratzon in chaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. L'chaim, to life. All right. We have a couple of very young adults or kids in the room, in the sanctuary. If you want to come forward to help out with the motzi, blessing over the bread, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Don't worry. The blessing is found right on the screen. We have just enough. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Alex, for giving us the right number. I'm not forgetting about you. That's the last one. I saved the grape juice. Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Tevon, enjoy. Very, very pleased to have Don Hirschman representing the leadership of our congregation to share some important Shabbat announcements.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, welcome, welcome, welcome. And to you out there in TV and radio land, welcome. Thank you for being here. Allison, your voice adds so much to our experience. It just lifts us all up. Joy, I can't see you. And you as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Rabbi Matt, your sermon was so interesting. It reminds me, one of the phrases that you had was standing. In the Marine Corps, we always said standing tall. Wherever we were standing tall. You could be 4'10", you were standing tall. And you talked to us about the conversos and the fear the conversos went through just to do what we're doing now. Well, we don't have to worry about that. And the next opportunity that we will have to not worry about that is the Slichot program, the service of forgiveness on Saturday, September 8th at 8 p.m., featuring refreshments. Let me say it again. Featuring refreshments. Good refreshments, there's never bad ones, sponsored by the Sisterhood, and a short film, God is Kidding. How often we've thought that, I'm sure. And prayers in the sanctuary. The Yom Kippur Break the Fast. It's going to be a scrumptious feast. The Sisterhood invites all of you, and it is, of course, free. But, and there's always a but in life, they ask you to please RSVP so they know how much peanut butter and jelly to order. Reverse Tashlik, it's such a wonderful idea. Instead of adding to the water, we are going to go and pick up all of the trash, whatever, and clean up at Honeymoon Park, the Social Action Committee, how appropriate it is for them to lead this. Thank you very much. Sunday, October 1st. It would be a month from today, except that September has 30 days. Never mind. October 1st, 11:30. The Mahjong tournament. October 31st, I am assured that they run a clean game. So please, come if you like to play Mahjong, enjoy. October 31st. The Jewish Federation, very serious. The Jewish Federation is collecting tzedakah donations to assist communities affected by the horrible Maui wildfires. There's a link in your happenings email if you feel so inclined to help. Following the service, there are refreshments at our Oneg Shabbat in the social hall. I would like to also thank our technical crew. Steve, thank you. Ed, thank you. And I invite you all, Allison, Rabbi, Joy, the choir have all been practicing, studying. The rabbi has been writing sermons for our holiday services. Please come to them and enjoy. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Don. And one final announcement to add to those great announcements. Sisterhood Honey fundraiser is still going through the 15th. 8 jars brought to the same place, free shipping. It's good stuff. That's right. 7, no dice. Is there such a thing as a non-clean Mahjong game? I mean, I don't know much about Mahjong. I like listening to the tiles, and my wife Ida plays it and stuff like that. We always hope for clean games. Always super important. Our closing song is right on the screen. Oseh Shalom, this arrangement by Nurit Hirsch. Oseh Shalom Timroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Imru Amen Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom. One and all have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Until we see you next time.